Welcome to Game of Thrones, a snarktastic rant on various Game of Thrones topics. I am Mandy Reesera, your guide on this adventure through the books and television show. Today's episode is The Balance of Ice and Fire. So, what is the Song of Ice and Fire? Is it the ballad Rhaegar Targaryen played for Lyanna Stark that caused her to weep at the banquet held at Lord Went's tourney at Harrenhal? Is it a reference to the spawn of a dragon and a wolf? Or is it an author's salute to his main characters, which represent a balance of elements and personalities? Jon, despite being born in fiery Dorne, is of the North. He holds values such as loyalty and blatant honesty to his heart, to the dismay of others, especially southern lords. Daenerys represents fire and passion. Her instinct is to conquer, but not so much to rule. You can disagree with me on that, but I counter with everything she did in Essos, with the exception of getting the Dothraki to her side via the Khals temple funeral pyre, has failed. And when it fails, she calls upon fire and blood to make up for the lack of foresight and overabundance of treachery. In Astapor, instead of dealing honestly with the slave trader in his tongue, which we know she speaks, she played dumb until she released fire and blood and killed every man who held a whip. When it came to Yunkai and Meereen, she conquered but failed to hold the cities. Sons of the Harpies were there to sow disharmony and invoke the traditional way of life, so ingrained into the souls of its people that many refused to change and bend the knee to Dany's vision of how things should be. And ultimately, she was driven off until the Dothraki picked her up and took her to Vaes Dothrak so she could take her place with the Dosh Khaleen. Again, she uses fire and blood to bend the superstitious people to her will in order to deliberately use them as battle fodder. She isn't killing the Khals because she's a good person, freeing the Dothraki from a nomadic life built around the slave trade. She killed them so she could use the Horde as her personal army to claim Westeros. I think it's also important to consider that the men Dany has had in her life. A husband whose sole hobby was to rape and pillage, a lover who killed for a living, and now she has Jon, who is wiser and gentler than Khal Drogo or Daario Naharis, but equally adept at killing. High-born enough, by Westerosi standards, he has the mannerisms of a just lord, as taught to him by the man who raised him, a man renowned for his honor. Whereas Dany is fire burning to destroy, Jon is ice to temper her flames into something manageable. When he speaks, she listens, much to Tyrion's ire, as it's Jon that is supplanting his position with Daenerys and ultimately putting Tyrion in a shitty position when trying to negotiate with hostile powers, such as his sister. Also should be noted that Jon sees a bit of Ygritte in Dany, the requirement of freedom for those around her, a fierce fighter dedicated to a cause, a woman kissed by and unafraid of fire. When Samwell Tarly and Bran Stark had their gossipy tea party, Bran laid a huge truth sure to piss Dany off. She isn't the rightful heir to that Iron Throne. Oh no, Jon Snow, aka Aegon Targaryen VI, is. That means if Dany wants to sit on the Iron Throne, she'll either have to kill or marry Jon. And if she marries him, they'll be carrying on that Targaryen trait of incest, which they actually seem to be doing quite well with their ignorance of Jon's true parentage. Ned Stark's lack of testicular fortitude to inform Jon of his mother has doomed Jon to banging his aunt. Hey, at least they're not siblings, right?